Hey everyone, welcome back to Make It Happen Mondays, where we talk about sales, business, entrepreneurship, personal growth, mental health, and everything in between with guests I truly respect and I think make a positive impact on the world around us. Today's conversation is with Dr. Yaniv Zaid. He has spent his entire career empowering professionals, businesses, and organizations worldwide with the skills to communicate effectively, influence audiences, boost sales and marketing, and drive success. With over 22 years of experience, he's delivered 2,500 keynotes, lectures, workshops across 4 continents, helping more than 950 companies enhance their sales performance, negotiation, and leadership. His research-based methods combine psychology and practical business tools, making his insights both powerful and actionable. He's also the author of 11 best-selling books, translated into 12 different languages, and more specifically, his new book on the new Bible of sales, the 10 Commandments. And so that is what we dove into. And started with, obviously, his background, but dove right into the difference between persuasion and manipulation. And he's got a lot of good values that he follows through on as it relates to the power of persuasion and how to use it. And so we talked through that and some examples there, and then got into some of the things that he talks about in his book, right? About the narrative and how identity matters, how your customers see themselves as more powerful than the features and functions that you have. And then the persuasion process. This was what I found interesting. There is an actual universal persuasion process that he goes through, and it's very similar to what we've all heard before about know, like, trust. And that's where I started to challenge him a little bit about, do people really have to like you? I know they have to trust you to buy from you, but do they really have to like you? And he thinks you do, and gives a couple of good examples of why. And then we talked about how to accelerate trust and through social proof and expertise. And then how failure is actually one of the fastest way to do that, and talking about failure and talking about what you're not good at. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive when it comes to sales, but this is a realization I came to a long time ago, that the more you share where you're not good, or the more you share your failures, the more people tend to trust you. That's why almost all my content, you'll hear me talk way more about my failures than my successes. Not only because I think we learn a lot more from that, but I think that also builds some credibility out there. So, and we finished up with branding yourself and the challenge of that when you are not the expert and what you need to do, and then actually finished up with what sales reps need to do moving forward here to stay relevant. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Let's make it happen. Dr. Yaniv, how are you, my friend? Welcome to the Make It Happen Monday podcast.
Thank you, John. It's great being here. I heard many episodes in your podcast and I loved it. So it's a privilege for me to be here.
Thanks for joining, man. I've been doing my prep work. You've been around the block for a little while, talking about a lot of things that I talk about, and written a lot more books than I have. So I thought this was going to be an interesting conversation, specifically around kind of persuasion and the art and the science around it. We're going to get into topics like persuasion versus manipulation and all that fun stuff. But before we do, I always love to hear kind of background stories here, man, like stuff we can't learn on LinkedIn. So what made you growing up, parents, environment? I know you're from Israel and still living there right now. So talk to me a little bit about what made you, and then we'll get into the career background.
First of all, I'm 48 years old. I'm married for the second time, and I have 3 boys. One is a baby, 4 months old, and 2 15 years old and 17 years old. And I've been doing this for 22 years now. I delivered more than 2,500 lectures and workshops and courses throughout the world in 4 continents. And I wrote so far 11 books, 6 in Hebrew and 5 in English. They were translated to 12 languages. And so far I sold more than 300,000 copies worldwide. And I started in the debate society when I was a student. I studied law and economy in Haifa University. It's the city where I grew up in north of Israel. And I joined the debate society and started competing in many competitions worldwide, Europe competitions, because Israel is part of Europe, and world championships. And I was very good at it. I won. I got to semifinals in Europe Championship in 2002. I reached number 3 in the debate in the speaking contest in the 2003 in South Africa. And then I started to teach it. And the debate method is only for people who compete in debate, but the methods or the system is relevant to everyone, for every salesperson and manager and commander and etc. and service provider. So I started teaching it, and then I published my book. My first book was published in 2004. I was 27 years old, and it was a huge success in Israel, and afterwards it was a huge success on Amazon, and afterwards huge success in many more countries. And then I realized that what I know, what I can teach is very, very relevant for everyone, because I think that communication skills are relevant maybe now in the digital era more than ever, and people need it. So I started lecturing about it, and found out that I love it. And I work with companies and entrepreneurs and authors and speakers and the service providers and high-tech companies, low-tech companies, banks, governments. My life is very interesting. So each day I meet a different client. Because everyone needs, to improve their communication skills.
I couldn't agree more on that, my friend. Let's go back to the debate thing. Like when you first started the debates and you said you realized you were pretty good at it. I'm guessing back then, and also PhD law. So there's a lot of logic in your background, so like non-sales. And I know law is obviously about arguing your case, but what was your realization of why you were good at debate back then before you learned about persuasion?
First of all, I always liked to talk, maybe even too much when I was young, but then I realized during the debate, when I was a chairman of the debate society and I competed in debate, that debate is a method that helps you be more structured, and say your message in a minimal time frame, and know how to adapt your messaging to your target audience, and be more relevant, and treat the audience in a better way. So I love to talk. Maybe I wasn't structured enough or focused enough. And when I joined the debate society, then it helped me. If I will give grade to myself, I was 8, and it helped me become 9.5. Let's say 10 is we will always try to achieve 10, but we can't. It's perfect. So it helped me. And for other people who have, let's say, a stage fright or fear fright, a fear free from talking, which are most people, debate the structure helps them to create, to deliver a message in a coherent way. Okay, so maybe it took me from 8 to 9.5, but someone else, you can take him from, let's say, 6 to 8 or 6 to 8.5. And sometimes the gap is more relevant for them, even more important for them than for me. So it may be better, a better speaker, better. I was a lawyer for a while, so a better lawyer, better service provider, and eventually better salesperson. Because in sales, you also need to know exactly who your target audience is. You need to adapt your your messages to your target audience. You need to say everything in a very short time. You need to have a great elevator pitch, for example. You need to know to sell the problem for the solution. I guess we're going to talk about it. So for me, when I combine those methods, the sales system which are developed and the debate system, then it's very, very relevant.
Nice. So help me, what's your perspective of the difference between debate and persuasion? And the reason I ask this is because debate is you're trying to win the debate, right? You made better points than the other person. So it's more combative as opposed to convincing. Well, or you're trying to convince somebody. And sales isn't about I don't believe sales is about convincing anybody of anything. It's helping people solve problems or achieve goals. And I think if you're trying to convince someone in sales, you're doing it wrong. So talk to me a little bit about that transition from a debate mentality to a persuasion mentality, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, you describe it well. Debate is like a win-lose situation, because you have two sides. If you talk about the competition, then you compete in front of judges, professional judges, in front of audience, and there is one winner, and let's not call it loser, but someone wins, someone loses. Sometimes there are 4 teams competing one another, and also the debate between politicians, also advocacy lawyers in court or something like that. So you have some winners, some losers, but in sales you need to have a situation of win-win situation, especially because if you try to establish a long-term relationship with the other side, then like you said, I don't try to persuade someone, especially not not push myself or push my ideas. I try to tell stories. I believe in soft sale. You don't sell to your clients. You tell them stories and they buy. You can tell lots of stories. By the way, the debate method also help you how to become a better storyteller, and to tell stories great. So you tell stories. You can tell stories about yourself, stories about success, stories about failures, which are also very important. Maybe we'll elaborate about that. Stories about other clients you have, stories about social proofs, and then people hear the stories and they love stories because from age 0, from the moment we are born, we hear stories, and then they are more willing to buy from you. So debate is a win-lose situation, but it helps you become a better public speaker, a better advocate, and sales is a win-win situation in my eyes.
So how do you, because I think, I'm in this real interesting world right now where I'm moving, I've done B2B sales for my entire career. And now I'm doing some coaching, right? Some individual one-on-one coaching. And I'm finding the B2C sales process really different and interesting because, B2B, it's a longer sales cycle. There's multiple people involved. So it is a inherently softer sale. Like you using a closing technique to somebody who's dropping, $100,000 on something ain't going to exactly work, right? I mean, I guess it does in some cases. But with individuals, it's very timely in the sense that you have them there in that moment. And legitimately, as soon as they get off that call with you, 50 other variables come into play here. And I want to be, hey, this is your decision. I want to make sure. But there's also that, like, if I let them go, I let them go. Even if I know it's the right thing to do and they've said it's the right thing to do, and I'm trying to find that fine line of like closing or getting them closed on in that moment versus my typical style, which is let's have this conversation. Let's identify what the need is. Let me tell you how I can help and figure it out. And then, guide you through the process here. So how is the psychology around B2B sales applicable, or what are the connective tissue between the two? And how do you kind of do that persuasion process, if you will?
Yeah, great question. First of all, I do B2B business. I do B2B marketing and also B2C marketing and also B2G marketing, business to government. I work with governments, with armies, with city halls, etc. But at the end of the day, first of all, I think it's all about people, because if I work with Intel or IBM or Coca-Cola, I don't work with Intel. I work with someone inside Intel who would like to work with me. And it always about people. So the common B2B marketing and B2C marketing having in common is people. So in people, our subconscious works the same way with if I'm a salaried employee or self-employed. I enjoy, by the way, with all marketing. I think the difference is, first of all, B2C, small medium businesses or business owners or entrepreneurs, they are like a speedboat. You tell them something, they can implement it immediately, and they can do it the next day or the next hour. Okay, and they see results very, very quickly. Usually, they don't need to consult with anyone. They're the decision makers. So you make a lot of change. Sometimes even in one meeting or one call, one Zoom meeting. You can see the change, and they can tell you about the results a few days after. And when you talk about companies, again, you work with people, but like you said, the decision-making process is very, very long. Usually you have few meetings, you have few people to convince. Maybe you talk to one people, but they need to convince others. So you need to write a price quote that is very persuasive, because other people are going to read it and they didn't talk to you. Okay, so you need to go to have a great marketing writing, to have a persuasion process through the document. And sometimes you need to address the board, address management, and to convince them. And also you see the changes if small medium businesses owners are like speedboat, then companies that are like a big boat or aircraft carrier or something like that the change, it takes time for the change to happen. But once it happens, one day, for example, I also write marketing writing. I write landing pages for companies, and also websites, and also scripts, sales scripts. So once they implement the script to all the employees or all the branches or something like that, then it will happen. The change will happen, so the change maybe takes more time, but let's say they implement it on more people and it influence more people. So again, it's people, but maybe the process is a little bit different when you talk to B2B market and B2C market.
So you talk about kind of a persuasion process. And I think it's awareness, trust, and buying, right? Is there a universal process that you bring through, or structure that you bring people through from a persuasion standpoint? And if not, like, how is it segmented? And could you give us some examples of what that might be like from a tactical
Yeah.
standpoint?
First of all, I think the basic model is no like trust model, because before people buy from you, again, it's not relevant if they have a small business or they are managers in a international company. They need first of all to know you. They need to know you, that you are there, that you're relevant, that if they seek for a salesperson or mentor or whatever, or each service or product, then you are relevant in your market. In order to know for them to get to know you, you need to be relevant, and you need to be in as many platforms as possible, social media and website and blog and media coverage and etc. And the second step, after they get to know you, they need to like you. Now, how can they like you if they didn't start working with you? So, first of all, you need to be likable during the sales call, or say by phone or by Zoom or by one-on-one meeting or something like that. They can also like you if they read an article, or if they saw your video, or if they saw your blog, or if they saw your TikTok or YouTube channel or something like that. And after step number 1, they get to know you. Step number 2, they get to like you. And then step number 3, they need to trust you. And it's very, very important, because, we are in an era, in a very saturated market, and we have lots of competitors, and everyone claims they are great, because I never heard of a vendor meeting a client and telling him, I'm a mediocre, but please choose me. Okay. Everyone says they're experts and they're great, everything. So what is the difference between someone is expert and someone is not? The social proofs, the track record, the let's say objective evidence I can show you about my famous clients, the amount of clients I have, the amount of years I've been doing this, formal certificates, my formal activity, books I wrote, lectures I provided, media coverage I got, success stories, etc. So, and then they get to trust you because of your social proof. And only after they get to know you and then like and trust you, they will buy from you for the first time. And then you need to establish, to have upsell and cross-sell, and to establish a long-term relationship. So this is the basic model. Now, this is the strategic model. We can also go to the tactic, which is, for example, sell the problem before the solution, identify their problems and needs, and then let's say present yourself or your products and services as a answer to the need, or a solution to the problem.
Okay. So I want to go back to the like thing. Can you skip that step? And the reason I ask is because I've always said, I don't need to like you, but I need to trust you. And, you think of the doctor, a typical doctor and a surgeon, and some doctors are just straight up assholes. You know what I mean? Like, they have no bedside manner. I wouldn't have a beer with this person to save my life, but I trust them implicitly to fix, do the surgery on my hip or whatever it might be. So I know that's not sales, but because I have a problem that's defined, and by the time I get to them, they're the expert. But can you skip the like factor to get to trust?
I don't recommend it. I will tell you why. Because if you need to choose, first, a great example. Let's talk about doctors. If you need to choose between two doctors, which you can't identify which is better professionally, okay? Because you don't know their stuff, and one is very, very nice, and one is an asshole. Okay, so we go to the nice one. Actually, I also work with medical centers and with hospitals, and one of the many doctors are like you described, that they are assholes, but they are good at what they do. But if you're an asshole to the staff, to the clients, to the patients, when we will have a problem, and everyone, sometimes they sleep, they get a bad judgment, they are not so, they get it wrong with the solution or something like that, then everyone will wait for you in the corner, and everyone will wait to see you fall. So I will say it doesn't necessarily either they like you or they trust you. I vote for like and trust, specifically in the digital era, because people are looking for more humanity, not just the solution, because I can also ask the chat, what do you recommend, and AI, and not the regular doctor. But if I come to a doctor and I spend time and money, and I parked my car, and I waited for a long time in the reception hall, something like that, and then I got into a doctor and I only have a few minutes, I expect the doctor to treat me well, and to look in my eyes, and to be nice to me, and maybe even to hear me for a little bit, and not just check me without saying anything, and be an asshole, something like that. and specifically if we talked about private medical care, because if I go to a private doctor, I pay thousands, hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, I won't go back to an asshole. And I can tell you from my personal experience as a client, also not just with my clients, but also as a client, when I went to doctors that they were highly recommended. So you get the trust, right? Because people I respect told me about them, and I went and they treated me badly. I never got back. So I think people need to like you. They don't need to love you. They don't need to drink with you, beer after work or something like that. But it's very easy to be likable. By the way, this is something I teach in my books and my lectures. Even if you don't, I think first of all in sales, the first principle in sales is love your clients. If you love your clients, you will be good in sales. If you don't love people, you don't love the interaction with people, you will be lousy in sales. It's also like in public speaking. Love your audience. For principle number one, if you love your audience, the audience will love you back. If you don't love your audience, you are on stage, you got the time, people won't relate to you. So it's very, very easy to be likable. First of all, you need to love people, but maybe this is the hard part. But afterwards, just smile and just ask some questions, and people are, they want to talk. They are looking for someone to listen to them, especially if it's a professional. So hear them out, and then address their problems, and they will love you. By the way, there are researchers about lawyers as well in courthouses that, for example, if I go to a courthouse and I'm a client and there is a judge, if the judge will let me speak, okay, not just my attorney, they will let me speak and I will speak, I will like the procedure even if the result is not in my favor, So, but if, for example, they will say, no, be quiet, your lawyer will speak, they will give my lawyer 1 minute, and then just the judge says, okay, I got the verdict. Okay, I will feel lousy. I will feel lousy that no, I didn't got my day in court.
Yeah. So can you accelerate trust? So say we're at least likable, right? Especially in a B2B sales setting. How do you accelerate trust? Social proof is one of those pieces, obviously. Other ways that you can accelerate trust, because I think that's a big part of it right now, is, to me, trust, and quite frankly, trust is a lot. Yes, I need to like this person, but I make a lot of decisions where I'll call up somebody I know who I trust, who is using somebody else, and I'll say, hey, and my literal question is, do you trust this person? And if they say, yes, I trust them, then I jump all the way through and I'm like, all right, cool, we're ready to go. I mean, I did that with my agent recently, back about a year ago. I was like, man, I wish there was like a LinkedIn agent thing. Like somebody, and my buddy was like, I got a guy for you. He's been working with me. And so I talked to him. He seemed like a good kid, got a good background. But my immediate question, I called my buddy right back and I said, I like him. He seems pretty good. Do you trust him? And he said, yep. And I called the kid back up and I said, all right, let's get going here. So that is obvious way to expedite trust. Are there other ways that
first of all, you mentioned you talk about referrals. So referrals are very, very powerful tools for sales, because we talked about know, like, trust, and only then buy. So if I ask you, John, do you know a great plumber? And you say, yeah, I know a great plumber. It's Brian, call him. Okay, then I don't know Brian, but I know you, and I know you, and I like you, and I trust you, and I say to myself, well, John is a serious guy. I won't recommend someone who's not serious. And also, if Brian did a job for you or something like that. So when I call Brian, let's say 80% of the sales already done, because I come very, very eager to buy. And then if Brian won't mess it up, for example, not be nice to me or something like that, then I will buy from them. So referrals are a very, very powerful tool. I recommend to use it. We talked about social proof. So social proof is a very wide definition, because I can tell you about my success. I can show you my success, and I can also put my success in every platform. So if you look me up, Spotify, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, LinkedIn, you will find the details I would like you to find. For example, the description will be the same description about my success. For example, if I wrote books, then you will see the front cover of the books everywhere, or something like that. So for you go to a restaurant, for example, you see pictures of famous clients who visited the restaurant sometimes 50 years ago, something like that, in black and white pictures. So you can say in the subconscious level, in the conscious level, you will say, why? Because we are 2025, those pictures from 1970, okay? and this person is dead, okay, and there was a different owner of the restaurant and different chef, so why it's relevant for me? So this is the conscious level speaking. But in the subconscious level, we say, oh, if this famous client was here, and if this restaurant exists for more than 50 years, and if this guy chose to eat here, then it means it's good. This is a subconscious level. This is how it works. So you don't just say things. You also show them. And another thing that will make you trust me is if I tell you failures about me. We talked about stories, that not just stories about success, because everyone, again, if you have success, tell it. Don't be humble. I always say that social proof is for shy people and humble people, because I'm not telling you I'm a great guy, I know what I'm doing, I'm highly experienced, I'm great, because everyone will say it. Everyone, like I said, no vendor ever said I am mediocre. Please choose me. Everyone claimed to be an expert, but the difference is the social proof. So stories about success are very important, but also stories about failures, because if I try to tell you that everything is great, all my clients are satisfied, all my products are great, 100% satisfaction, you won't relate to me, because you say something is fishy, right? And in 2025, people have, I call it a fake radar or bullshit radar, that they know some in sales. The world of sales changed dramatically in the past decade, because methods that we used to work 5, 10, and 15 years ago, they don't work anymore. See my beautiful wife, see my penthouse, see my beautiful car. This means I'm successful. It's not good anymore. It's not enough anymore if it's true. So tell about failures. And there is I work with high-tech companies. In high-tech companies, there is a line of lectures, of speaking gigs. It's called fuck up nights. What is fuck up nights? Entrepreneurs telling other entrepreneurs about their failures. Now, there is a twist, because usually the story goes like this. In my first company, I lost $100 million of investors. My second company, I got bankrupt and divorced. And my third company is PayPal. It's usually it's a failure success story. But you won't hear stories like, my first company, I lost $100 million of investors. My second company, I got bankrupt. And today I'm homeless, living with my wife's parents or something like that. Usually it's failure success. But the entrepreneurs, they love to hear about the journey, about the failures. So, and I always tell my clients, you need to be authentic, and tell also about the failures. Again, not invent failures. Be authentic and be honest. But I always tell them, be Batman and not Superman. Okay, and also tell it to our listeners, what is the difference between Batman and Superman? Because they are both superheroes, right? And they both look like human beings. But Superman is not a human being. He came from another planet. So if Superman will deliver a workshop how to fly, and I will buy the ticket for the first row, a VIP ticket, and will sit, and they will explain exactly what to do. Go to the highest tower, go to the roof, check the wind, check your first step. I will do exactly what he says. I'm still going to fall, because he came from another planet, and I'm just a human being. But Batman will deliver the same workshop how to fly, and I will sit in the first row, and I will tell me, Yaniv, you and I were alike. Actually, I had a worse life, because the Joker murdered my parents when I was young, and I fell into a cave, and I was afraid of bats and afraid of darkness. But then I taught myself how to fly, and let me teach you. So this guy I can relate to, because he also had the struggle, and had the shittier life, and had the what I call the resurrection. He rose again, and then I can learn from his mistakes. And this is what people like. So how to sell, how to become likable? First, tell about your success. Second, tell about your failures.
Okay.
And thirdly, love your audience.
So let's explore that. What's one of your biggest quote unquote failures that you've learned from, or that other people can learn from?
Many mistakes. In my books, by the way, I tell many stories of failures, both mine and my clients. And also I analyze some things that happened outside in the world. But I can tell you, first of all, that one of the things I learned is not mention competitors. Talk about yourself, and think creatively and not competitively. And I think I tell you one time many years ago, I did a webinar. It was late at night, and I, you know how it is. You work very hard to gather audience for the webinar. I think 300 people signed for the webinar. And in that night, I scheduled it months before. So at that night, there was, I think, semifinals of Champions League, and there was the final of American Idol, something like that. And I began my webinar, and the first instinct you have is to empower the audience, right? So I told everyone hi friends, welcome to the webinar. I'm happy that you're here and I'm happy that you chose me and not to watch football in the Champions League semifinals. And then when I see in the side, 300 people downgrade to 200 people, 100 people left the room, and I didn't realize yet. So I say, and of those of you who don't like soccer, I'm very happy that you chose me and not American Idol to see the finals. I left. I was maybe 50 or 80 people stayed. So I said, okay, never mind. Just let's start the webinar. And then I chose, and then the lesson was don't talk about the competition, because the people didn't sign for me because they had a decision not to watch American Idol, watch Dr. Yaniv Zaid. They signed for the webinar and did check the TV, what is going on TV, because they're scheduled. But when I told them there is competition, then I actually shot myself in the leg. I turned them to the competition. And the competition here is to attention. The CEO of Netflix told in an interview that the biggest competition he has is sleep time, because people don't have much time in the day to watch TV. So he said, I would like people to sleep less and watch Netflix and watch the series and to do binge or something like that.
Talk about manipulation. Sorry. These social platforms and these movie platforms are, I think, the bad version of persuasion and manipulation.
I agree.
Firmly trying to make us not sleep, firmly trying to divide us, and there's no positive intentions here. So I have it's
like all the love apps, like Tinder, etc. They don't want you to find your spouse. They want you to have a FOMO, fear of missing out every time.
Yep. Yeah, and that's kind of the sad part. And you brought up competitors, because I think that's another interesting one to dive into from a sales standpoint. Yeah, I mean, the competitors are competitors, but I came to a similar realization, I think, early in my career, that unfortunately I was selling too much against my competitors and not to my customer. And so I would lose deals, not because I lost to the competitor. I lost because I wasn't selling to the client. And so when you talk about failures and talking about things you don't do well, how much, there's a concept in objection handling in sales about the preemptive strike, where the objection, you have a feeling the objection might come up, like you're too expensive or whatever it is. So you bring it up early, right? You're like, hey, look, we're not the cheapest, whatever. Or you're up against competition. And obviously we're all taught not to talk shit about our competition. But what I tend to do is I tend to boost them up on something they're really good at. But obviously through my discovery, I try to find the areas that I'm really good at and focus on that. So what's kind of your overarching approach to competition in general? Do you even engage with them or think about them in any way? Or do you set the landmines? Do you bring them up proactively? How do you deal with that in a B2B sales standpoint?
First of all, great question. My approach today, after 22 years of experience, is also self-development process that I've been doing is I can tell you, first of all, don't call it competition. I call it colleagues. I treat them as colleagues, not my competitors. I don't talk about them at all. I don't, if I talk to clients, I don't talk about them at all. I refer only to myself, only to my achievements, only to my failures, all we talked about. In most cases, and also this is what I teach companies, in most cases, our clients won't talk about the competition. And by the way, sometimes they don't know the competition. So if you say, I'm A, I'm better than B and C, in most cases, the reaction will be, who is B? Who is C? And they will go to ask for price quotes from B and C as well. So most people, they reached you because they saw you on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. They got a referral. They need you. They don't know everyone else. So if don't mention competition, don't talk about competition. And even if client tells you, Yaniv, okay, I got your price quote, but here is the price quote of B and C. What do you say about them? Or I also met them. What do you say? I always say I treat only myself. I don't talk about them at all. Sometimes if it's a good colleague that I'm friends with or something, I will say, okay, they are great. I don't start comparing, they are great, but they do a hard sale, I do soft sale, and they don't have 22 years of experience, just 10, and I don't do it, because if you talk shit about them, they will talk shit about you, or, in a more spiritual way, let's call it, the universe will revenge you, so for example, if you do, karma is a bitch, so if you talk dirty about people, if they don't know it, and it doesn't sound great, it doesn't sound honestly, it doesn't sound professional, if you're an expert, then focus on yourself. So this is my approach.
So what do you do? Thankfully, I don't, I haven't experienced this too much, but I know a lot of reps do, that they have a competitor that does talk shit, like constantly. You know what I mean? They bold-faced lie to the clients about what they can and what you're about, and you know it, and you've lost deals because of it, right? It's one thing if they're out there talking shit and giving a negative opinion and we're still winning, whatever. But there are some, not so great companies and sales professionals out there that will bold-faced lie about what they can do, about what you can't do. So how do you, if you know that competitors in this deal, how do you address that, if at all?
Great question. Again, we talked earlier about win-win situation in comparison to a win-lose situation. So if I am a politician, I need to address it, because at the end of the day, the voter would need to vote me or the other guy. Okay, but in business, I believe in let's say creative thinking, not competitive thinking. So there is a room for everyone. So if by the way, if I like my colleagues, again, not competitors, colleagues, and I have a great relationship with everyone, then most likely they won't talk shit about me. But if someone will talk shit about me and I know it, I will personally call them, and I did it in many times before, also in behalf of my clients. So maybe that I recommend call them and talk to them and be friend with them, and then we'll say, well, we are competitive, so we're colleagues. There is enough clients for everyone. Okay, but again, if clients addresses you, you talk only about yourself. By the way, people don't like people that talk shit about others. For example, if you are now a boss and you interview some employee and a potential employee, and they talk shit about their former boss. So what do you think in the subconscious level? In a year from now, they will talk shit about me. Okay, you don't say, great, I'm better than the former boss. No, you say, this guy, it's a typical behavior. They will talk shit about me in a year from now. So people don't like it, especially today. And people like I said, there is a fake radar, a bullshit radar. By the way, social proof is a great tool for that, because I can tell you as much as I can, as I want, about our expert and and to talk lies. But it's very, very easy today to identify the lies. I can tell you about clients I have. If I don't have them, you can find it in one phone call. Okay, I can't invent a success. I can invent let's say a track record. Okay, because at the end of the day, either I did exit or not, either I have 1,000 clients or not. So I can't tell you numbers. And if I do it, if I lie, then you can lie to a few people a few times. You can't lie to all the people all the time. We talked about long-term relationships. So at the end of the day, personally, I would like to sleep well at night. So if someone else talk dirty, they need to live with themselves. I need to live with myself.
Yeah. So you talk I think the last book was 10 Commandments that you put together.
The 21st Century Sales Bible, 10 Commandments of how to become a better salesperson and marketing person.
So in there, you talked about branding yourself as an expert.
Yeah.
You and I can do that. We've been around the block for a little while. We've been through the business, right? We have some social proof there. How does a 22, 23, 24-year-old kid brand themselves as an expert? Because I've had this conversation before of like, build your brand. And it's always funny to me because I say, look, you and I, usually sales consultant, will say that. And I'll say, you and I sell sales consulting to sales reps, and we're in sales. So it's really fucking easy for us to build our brand and be, brand yourself as an expert. But what about that 22-year-old kid who's trying to sell to a CISO and he has no idea about cybersecurity and like, how do you start to brand yourself as an expert when you are not?
Great question. I don't know when you started, but I started when I was 23 years old, my business, and I was very young. And I started sales when I was 12 years old. I sold the flowers in the junction when I was 12 years old. So I've been doing sales with no experience whatsoever, like most people. But my definition of an expert, first of all, is very wide, because I love the examples about restaurants. Let's say you go to a restaurant, you have in a conference, you have a break, the lunch break, you don't have much time, you go to the restaurant. A waiter comes, and then you ask her, what do you recommend? Let's think about it for a minute. Why do you ask her? I'm 48 years old. Maybe she's 21 years old. Usually I don't consult with 21 years old. She represents the restaurant, not me. So obviously she will going to offer me what the chef told her to offer. I tell her, please decide for me what to enter into my body, maybe I healthy or something like that. But why do I do it? Because now I consider her as an expert, because I don't have much time, I don't know the restaurant, I don't know the menu, but she knows it, and she works here. So immediately the default of most people is to consult with an expert. Okay, I don't mind, she's younger than me, and she's maybe a doctor, maybe she didn't finish high school, I don't care. She knows something that I don't, I would like to ask her, because she can shorten my learning curve, because I have other options. I can gamble, I can say, okay, I don't ask anyone, just I hesitate between this dish and this dish, bring me this dish. But then it's a win-win, it's a go-no-go situation, because after 20 minutes the dish comes, and then either it's tasty or not. If it's not tasty, then I don't have time to replace it or something like that. And I can also choose all the menu. I can say, okay, I don't want to gamble, just bring me 5 dishes. It's wrong, it's expensive, people won't do it. So our default is to consult with experts. So experts doesn't need to be with 20 years in experience, or to be a PhD or professor, or I don't know, a commander in the army or something like that. An expert is someone who did the way you want to do, okay, already did it, and they can shorten your learning curve. So back to your question, this 22 years old, he can't say, and he doesn't need to say, I have 20 years of experience, okay, because he's only 22 years old. But he can leverage his current achievements. For example, if he is 22 years old, and he has an experience of 3 years in sales, for example, or he was instructor in Boy Scouts or something like that, and now he would like to be an instructor of something, or he did this in armies, he served in the army, or he volunteered in some organizations, or he studied in college and he was excellent in his studying or something like that, then he can take the achievements they already have. By the way, in my workshop, I always tell people, each one of you have at least 10 social proofs, and I sometimes write with them, because usually the first 1 or 2 are easy. I'm a graduate of degree this and this, okay, this is 1 and 2, but to reach 10 it's more difficult. But every 22 years old has at least 10 or 20 social proofs. So you need to take these social proofs and leverage it, and to have better achievements. And obviously, if you keep it evolving and develop yourself and your business, when you will be 30 or 45 years old, you have much more accomplished than you talk about them. Okay. For example, I am a lawyer and economist. Okay. And when I did also, I was in an officer in the lieutenant in the Israeli Air Force. So when I try to become a lawyer, and you go to university, what do they see? They see the SATs, okay, and they see the grades you had in high school, right? And then you start. This is the way. This is the ticket to a good university. And then you start learning in university. And now I joined when I was 23 years old to university, because I did 4 years of army. And then you go to the university, and then after 2 years, you try to get an internship, right? So you go to many law firms. What do they see now? They look for the grades you have in the 2 years of university. The grades of high school are not relevant anymore. So they look for this, and they also would like to see recommendation letters of your lecturers, of your professors from the academy. And then I finished law, and I did the internship, and I did my exams, the law bar, and I passed the law bar, and I'm a lawyer. And this is the path. I was also already self-employed, but if I go to law firms, what they will look? They will look for accommodation from the internship and the grade you got in the law bar, the bar exam. Okay, so each stage you deal the cards you have. Okay, I can't do it when I was 20 years old, but I can do it when I was 25 years old. So each time you need to leverage your achievements.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's finish up with this. In this new weird world of AI, you talk about one of the other tenets in the 10 Commandments is, you got to market and sell differently now than you did previously. And I think the general premise is stop pushing, right? And start pulling, but with AI leveled up here, I have a very distinct fear of the vast majority of sales professionals becoming obsolete, because the AI can answer the vast majority of questions that most sales reps go through the process about. And so if the sales rep isn't adding value in every conversation, and I mean like no matter what, where, and when. So what do you see from a persuasion, from a psychology standpoint, any of that has fundamentally changed, or that we have to fundamentally change if we want to be successful moving forward?
Great question. So first of all, I think in AI, there is an evolution now of AI, and I think we talked about become an expert. So to become an expert is not nice to have; it's must have, because if you're not an expert, then AI can replace you. Because if you're mediocre, then AI can replace you even today. And if you're good at what you do and you're an expert in each field, then AI will become your friend and your colleague, and not your competitor and not your replacement. So every salesperson, they need to excel in sales. They need to excel in communication skills. I think about what I teach, because AI is not human, and you can say to AI, you can say to chat, okay, now write me this text in a more human way or something like that. But it's not like person, okay? And we talked about people have fake radar and bullshit radar. They also have an AI radar. For example, my wife is in recruitment, and she says when she got the CV, she immediately can tell if a person wrote it or an AI wrote for the person or something like that. So you can use AI. I can become your friend, but eventually people are looking for the personal touch. In sales, I'm talking about the personal touch. They looking for for humanity. They look for authenticity, they look for honesty, and all of those things people can deliver them. And even in an AI era, in the digital era, you can be a great salesperson. And another thing I recommend, I can give you 2 examples, is to join the revolution, to become an expert, but join the revolution. I can give you 2 examples how I use AI. But by the way, I'm not technological guy. I have great technological stuff, and I do lots of cooperation regarding AI. So 2 of those corporations, first of all, I wrote books. So 20 years ago, there was also print book, and 15 years ago, there was also ebook, and 10 years ago, there was also audiobook. And now the new thing in the market is an avatar AI of the author. For example, if you buy a non-fiction book, then most people, they don't know how to implement the book after they read it. You read a book about negotiation, and then you have an action negotiation 2 weeks later, you don't have the author of the book next to you. But now you can buy, and this is what I sell, part of the thing with an American company, it's called Wisdom, an avatar AI of the author. You can subscribe to my avatar, and then you can ask me questions. And the avatar AI, not like ChatGPT, which is general, the avatar AI is based on all of my materials, all of my books, and the book you read, etc. So then you have a negotiation, and people ask you something, and then you can say, okay, Dr. Yaniv Zaid, what you've said, and my avatar will talk to you in my voice, and they will tell you what to do. It's a great cooperation. This is my way to join the revolution. And another example is I joined a company from England, from Manchester. It's called Callmarker. Callmarker, they work with B2B, with call centers, and they have a software they sell to B2B, to companies, to call centers, to many people. And one of the challenges of people in sales is, if you manage many people, you have the mediocres, you have the great ones. They do lots of mistakes, they burn lots of leads, and then they added the feature avatar AI. It's called plugin of me. And then let's say, imagine that you talk to someone, I sit next to your shoulder, and I give you notes. They said they work with this and this, tell them we did this and this, okay? And now they said you answered wrong about it's too pricey for me, this is what you need to say, etc. So there is an avatar AI plugin of Dr. Yaniv Zaid they can buy as a feature to the software. And then all 20 or 40 or 50 people in the call center, they talk, and online there is a Dr. Yaniv Zaid sit next to them and tell them what to do online. So this again, it's based on all of my methods and books and etc. So this is the way that, for me, as a non-technological person who don't work personally much with AI, I can join the revolution because I am an expert, and because I'm likable, and because I do cooperation with many things. I don't see it as a competition, but as colleagues.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's augmentation, not automation, right? And if you can use it the right way, it's a superpower. If you look to automate, you're kind of automating yourself out of a job. So I think that's
I agree.
That's where we'll finish it up, Dr. Yaniv. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Where can people learn more about what you're doing, the books, and all the AI bot and everything else?
Yeah, first of all, so you can check my website. It's drpersuasion.com, drpersuasion.com. And also you can find Yaniv Zaid, Yaniv Zaid in all of the social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. I can also provide you with my personal email is yaniv@yanivzaid.com, yanivzaid.com. And also you can feel free to ask me question, and I will happy to answer any question you may have. My new release book is that the 21st Century Sales Bible is now on bookstores in North America and many other places worldwide, also in Amazon. It was translated to 12 languages so far, and it's very successful in many countries, including Russia and China and Vietnam and India and France and also United States and Canada. So feel free to check me, check the book. And again, Yaniv@yanivzaid.com. I wait for you to ask me questions. I will be happy to answer any question you may have.
Perfect. Awesome, my friend. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having a conversation with you.
Thank you very much, John. It's great being here.
And everybody, hopefully you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And like I say at the end of all these podcasts, go out there and make somebody smile today, because no matter how bad your day went or how bad you think it's going, if you make somebody smile, you know you had a good day, and the world needs a lot more of that right now. So thank you all very much, and I will see you on the other side.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. With your support and our incredible guests, we're one of the top sales podcasts out there right now, and I can't thank you enough. Now, to keep the momentum going, it would mean the world to me if you could go and leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform and share some of your favorite episodes with your network. Also, I am super excited to be launching my new newsletter, where I'll be sharing everything I know and everything I'm learning along the way while I'm out there selling every day just like you. Go to jbarrows.com/newsletter to sign up today. Let's all level up and make this happen together.